Welcome to Mainstream with Harpreet Singh Toor. आप सबनू प्यार भरी सत श्री अकाल, नमस्कार, आदाब and shalom. It's good to be back after a break, couple of weeks. Last week because of snow could not make it, but before that I was in India, and definitely I'm going to talk about that. I always talk about national American national politics, international politics, and sometimes I do touch on Indian politics, which I try not to say much on that, but during my visit I had some observations which I'm going to share with you. But again, feel free to get in touch with me, send me an email on hstour@gmail.com. You can always get in touch with me, and that email, send me an email, your questions, your suggestions, or your views, whatever you think about it. I know this show is on JUS Hindi, the Hindi channel, not on JUS Punjabi, but there are people who are watching this show. When I go out and I talk to them, and they definitely give me comments, suggestions, and everything. So, a lot of things happened during last couple of weeks when I was not here on weekly basis. So I'm going to touch one at a time, whatever I can in today's time frame. Let us start with India first. I was in India, yes, when I landed there. It was foggy and everything. Landed in Amritsar. It was good. It's always good to go back to your home, home sweet home. Yes, I have been living in this country. I actually spent more time in this country than the time I spent in India. But still, home is home, no doubt about it. For my kids, of course, this is home, not India. So that is what always happens during the migration and everything. But this is something which I want to share with you. And I'm, again, with all due respect to everybody, I'm giving you my observation. I'm not complaining about anybody, but I'm putting the facts up here, what I saw. Once you are in India, you go through all these, whether you go through the newspapers or you are watching TV or you are watching anything on the social media. It's all about either Prime Minister Modi or Prime Minister Modi or Prime Minister Modi. And I'm surprised at that there is no proper conversation, no discussion about the issues, about the future, about how some of the rights are being trampled. Some of the people are, just being arrested. There was a law passed by BJP a couple of years back where they can arrest anybody on suspicious of being a person who is thinking to do something, And I personally was like, you have perfect tool to arrest anybody you want to arrest. You just have to say that, okay, he was thinking about XYZ. And the other thing which I saw was that the people, the anchors and the guests, they don't talk to each other. They do not communicate. They yell at each other. They cut off everybody, and there is no question listening and no answer listening. And I have always been told since I was a kid that you learn most when you listen. Even though I'm not going to lie about it. I'm also one of those guys who try to listen, but if I feel like that, okay, this is wastage of time, listening to somebody based on what I assume, then I just cut off the guy. I will say my opinion or I will say my thoughts. And there are people who are offended by that, but for me, what I do, I talk about based on the facts, but over there, I did not see anything being discussed based on the facts. And if something was being done wrong, nobody talked about it the way it should be. Nobody had any conversation about the way it should be. And it is all about, praising the current Prime Minister Modi. Yeah, he's doing good, no doubt about it. There is more infrastructure. I was having a conversation about infrastructure. And when I mentioned that there is a lack of conversation and lack of listening and freedom of speech and freedom of thought is being, killed. And but there are more highways, more roads, more bridges. And I was told, well, that is also part of infrastructure, and I don't understand how it is part of infrastructure if your thoughts are, you are keeping your thoughts to yourself that you cannot put it out. And I always on this show talk about, how important it is to listen and the freedom of speech, how important it is. And also the freedom of religion is very important. But there is a huge minority, not just one minority, not just the Muslims, but there are other minorities also in India who feel like they are not free to, do their religious services the way they used to be. So there must be something going on which during my short stay I could not really look into much. But there was one thing which I definitely saw. There was an election in Chandigarh, and then the election for the mayor. 8 votes were cancelled by the presiding officer, and this is where these presiding officers are supposed to be honest, independent. That is what is presumed to be, that is we assume when we go out. And that is what actually the crux of the whole thing is in the coming elections, how much these presiding officers, how much these officers, they will be honest to let the people cast the vote they want to cast and then give the results the way they should be, not how they or the powers want it. In Chandigarh, the result was declared and a BJP gentleman was made the mayor of Chandigarh, even though they had less number of seats as compared to Congress AAP combined. Guess what? They went to the court. Court actually gave a judgment yesterday. They told that the person, the presiding officer, should be prosecuted, and they reversed the results, and now the AAP Congress has their own person as a mayor, whereas it should have been when originally it was supposed to be. So what I'm trying to say here is, when all these people who are blind with their faith in the current BJP government, they are ignoring the fundamental rights and fundamental errors being made on the ground. Then the other example was in Chhattisgarh. Yeah, Soren, I have no question, that okay, he was wanted for some fraud, for the ED was wanted to arrest him, which they did. Okay, instead of arresting him in New Delhi, he went back to Chhattisgarh, which is his state, and they arrested him there. He resigned and he got somebody else to swear in as a next chief minister. But the BJP and the BJP appointed governor wanted a BJP chief minister. And for 48 hours, even though he was given the list of the MLAs that, okay, here is a list of the MLAs, these are my supporters, and I want you to call the assembly, which governor is supposed to call the assembly. The assembly itself cannot get together and elect the chief minister. For 48 hours, the governor did not call the assembly. Why? Because there was a horse trading going on back behind the doors, so that Jharkhand Morcha, I think that's the name of that group, could not form the government, even though after 48 hours they still managed to have their government, Jharkhand Morcha, not the BJP. And interestingly, it is the same BJP who used to complain about all these things when the Congress used to do it. And they were always, oh, we are not going to do anything like that. We will not do any shenanigans like that. We will be honest. And that actually takes me back to, the municipal elections in New Delhi or Delhi. Over there also, they actually put in these appointed people who had no authority to vote to include them as a voter, so that they can have their own, the BJP can have their own mayor, which dragged on into the courts, and it took time before the court decided that no, he cannot. I got to appreciate the Supreme Court and current Justice Chandrachud, that he actually is coming out clean, coming out impartial about the things which come to the court. And that is something which actually makes me wonder about 2024 elections, which are coming up soon. We are already in February, and the elections will be declared within next, I would say, 4 to 6 weeks. A mode of conduct will be implemented, what can be done, what cannot be done. And also because the elections are in staggered stages, not in one bulk day. So within states also, they stagger the election. Whereas I personally believe in states, it should not be, doesn't matter how big the state is, in each state, it should be on the same day, whole state, the election. Because you are giving time to the leaders to go from one segment to another and influence the voters or their thoughts or the process, or not even letting the process go the way it should be, which actually is the major concern. On the one hand, everybody talks about India to be a superpower, but on the other hand, nothing is being done to protect those institutions which make any country a superpower. America became superpower because America had institutions. America survived last 4 years of the 4 years of Trump presidency because those institutions resisted. They put out the things, but now they are also cracking under the pressure because social media has created such a divide. People just watch based on the algorithm which is fed to them, that whatever they are watching, they will get that on their screen. To talk to you, get back to you, or you can also send me a WhatsApp message on my personal cell phone. I have no issue with that. It's 516-448-8722. ਮੇਰਾ ਪਰਸਨਲ ਸੈੱਲ ਫੋਨ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਭੇਜ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ, WhatsApp ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ 516 448 8722. So I was talking about the happenings about where India wants to be and where India is right now. There is something going on. Okay, I heard the Prime Minister Modi's speech in Lok Sabha, which he was basically, it is always customary to that the Prime Minister will speak as a note of thanks to the presidential speech. even though those are prepared and everything. And he was poking fun on everything, literally, especially on the Congress and the leaders of the Congress, Indira Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, but he will not say a single word about Sardar Patel, who was also a Congress leader, because probably he was a Gujarati, that's why. I have no other reason to believe why he will not. And he mentioned something in this speech about something which Jawaharlal Nehru spoke from Lal Killa on 15th of August, where he compared, working ethics of Indians as compared to the other Western countries who are way ahead, where he mentioned that we are kind of lethargic. Okay. Now let me put in my cent into this, the whole sensible, just trying to make some sense out of it. Okay. Any country which has a temperate weather like India, where the weather is hot, it gets really hot during the summer, it is but natural that the human body needs a break. On top of that, what I have seen when I went in there, people literally, they get paid, but they don't work. You go to the banks, you go to the train stations, you go to all these places. We live here in United States, and over here also, when you go to government offices, yes, those people who are employees, they may not be quick, they may not be perfect, but they work, or they are made to work. In India, it's the other way around. I still remember that I went with one of my friend. He needed to do a transaction in the bank. We were waiting on the counter, and there were two people more in front of us, which means they were waiting before us. And the person who was supposed to take care of those, he was sitting there. It was she actually. She was sitting there, but she had her face turned back and talking and laughing with a person who was probably her superior, with no intention of attending. And after some time, when I said something, my friend told me, Harpreet, leave it. We just have to wait. So if we really look at it, there is nothing wrong in stating the facts. There are Indians who have done great, but if you look proportionately, population wise and everything, then we have a small number of people who are really dedicated and who work hard. So what he was doing actually, he was digging out anything which was derogatory to the previous regimes, but he will not mention the Prime Minister that when India took over the partitioned country, even though I am not happy with the partition, and I am stating right here in front of the camera, recording it, that I was not happy with the partition and I am not happy with the partition. Like a lot of other people who are Punjabis, and they paid price, which I did talked about previously in one of my show, and I probably will talk again around the 15th of August, then the time will come. So when you look at that, India was not even manufacturing a single thing. Everything, even the raw stuff, it was being exported to England. It was processed in England and re-exported or imported in India and then sold with the added value to it. You know, all these achievements which are being just pushed under the carpet, or the history is being, how should I put it down, ignored. Indira Gandhi declared emergency, no doubt about it. Was it right? No, it was wrong. But at least it was done openly. Emergency is there, you cannot do X, Y, and Z. Right now, without declaring an emergency, everything like it was happening at that time, it is happening now. But you don't hear it. But yes, the BJP government boasts that we do not and we did not declare emergency and we are achieving. And let me put one more thing in proper perspective. When Prime Minister Modi took over as a Prime Minister, the price of gasoline I think was about 46, 47 rupees per gallon, per liter. Now it is 97, 98. And I still remember every time if there was an increase of 50 paise for the liter of petrol, there were riots, organized riots by opposition, which again, of course, it was BJP/RSS. Buses were burned, you know, railways stopped, railways were burned and everything. Now, everybody is just taking it in stride. Even though policies were implemented by the previous Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, gradually those were supposed to happen, but at least there are no more riots right now. Why? Because the people who actually used to do the riots, they are in power right now. So why would they do it? At that time, the aim was to get into the power. And another very interesting factor which I came across, everybody says, oh, Manmohan Singh was very honest, but the people around him were crooks. Oh, Modi is clean. No doubt Modi is clean, but what about the people around him? What about those businessmen who are getting thousands and thousands of crores or rupees written off during current administration's rule? And yes, one more thing before I go to the break, and then I will be jumping to other issues about international and United States issues. Supreme Court ruled against electoral bonds. Okay. Interesting thing is, after Supreme Court ruled against it, at least I haven't heard any statement from a responsible person. Maybe something happened during last 24 hours, but I have not been able to check. But before that, not a single statement either from Finance Minister, Law Minister or Prime Minister Modi. When Ayodhya verdict came in, Prime Minister Modi was on TV all the time. And guess what? This electoral bond thing, BJP has more than 5,000 crore rupees in its account and Congress has less than 200 crore rupees. And whose account was sealed by the banks? Congress, not the BJP. You talk about, impartiality, you talk about being equal to everybody, you talk about we care about the rule of law, you talk about we care about the country. If this is what it is, then I'm sorry to say, I don't think that the persons really care about the country. They just care about their own personal agendas, their personal grudges, and they want to take it out on the other people. There was one incident which, again, I'm going to quote, which was written actually in one of the book. I have to dig out the name of the book. It is the gentleman who got Bharat Ratan from the current Prime Minister Modi, and this has everything to do with the election. It has nothing to do with what that gentleman actually did. He wrote down about the former Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru that there was Jawaharlal Nehru was supposed to go and speak at one of these functions by one of the university in Bihar, and when he went there, the students, they were actually mad at him, whatever the reasons were, and they actually literally, tore his shirt, grabbed his cap, the Gandhi topi, and J.P. Narayan was the one who took the mic and told them to leave him alone. And when he went to the stage, he apologized that, to the Jawaharlal Nehru that it was inappropriate, and he's sorry for that. And actually, Jawaharlal Nehru responded by saying, well, he is really happy the way he has been received. The people are so enthusiastic to talk to him and, get their frustration out. This is something which you need to have in a person. You don't need, a whole posse of gunmen protecting you. Look here, in the United States, when these elected Congress member or the Senate, they go around, just one or two cops, they first go in there, they look around, they talk about, and that's it. But the person goes around freely. But in India, we have this macho thingy that we have to have these 20 gun-toting policemen with us as a safety. I have to have the Z security, blah, blah, blah. National and international. First, the death of activist political figure in Russia, Navalny in Serbia, it's a sad news. It is a sad news. I will tell you why I say so. Number one, when we talk about any democracy, democracy can survive only if we participate democratically. If we do not participate, then democracy is in danger. Okay? For example, you can sit at home and you can complain. Nobody cares. But if you go out and participate, when the elections are there, doesn't matter who the candidate is, you vote for one person or the other. If the more you come out, the better it is. Look at what happens here. Immediately after the elections are over, what happens? All these elected, they look at the number of people who came out and voted from any particular group, faith-based or otherwise, and they pay special attention to that group. Why? Because they know that, okay, this is the group which is going to come and vote. Remember, any elected official, his first and foremost job is to get re-elected. Doesn't matter what position it is. So they do care about who comes out. And that's why it is important, any democratic process, to participate. When we say, oh, polls are showing he's leading by so many numbers, he's leading by so many numbers, No. Even if the person is leading by so many numbers, if you don't like his policy, you go for the opposition, he would know that, okay, out of 100 registered voters, 90 came out and voted. Out of those 90, 45 went against me. Not out of 60%, and out of 60%, 45% will be what? 24, 25% out of the 100 registered, something like that. So, numerically, where do we stand? It is statistical. I am not a statistician, but sometime, I try to make some calculation to make some sense. So that is the reason why it is so important to participate. And the other thing is, look at what is happening worldwide. Okay, Putin invaded Russia, and I have said before, I'm repeating again, Ukraine's borders were guaranteed by Russia as well as other countries. Did Russia care about it? No. Okay. Why? Because Ukraine is a comparatively more democratic setup than Russian is. And the current president of Russia, President Vladimir Putin, does not operate that way. Even though, the elections are conducted, he gets 98%. You tell me, who gets 98% of the casted votes, unless it is rigged. And interestingly, I haven't heard much about Navalny's death from any Indian politician. I do understand that during Ukraine's invasion, the Indian Prime Minister and Indian government, they wanted to have sort of like, backdoor conversations and everything. But there are some points where you have to show what we call as the leadership. That okay, there comes a time when you have to say the things. And look at this. A Russian pilot who actually defected during this Ukraine war, he was found dead. It's not the first time. And it is not the last time either. Then we have China, where President Xi has his own aim. And yes, that reminds me also that after President Xi and Modi, our Indian Prime Minister, had a meeting in Ahmedabad in Gujarat. After that, after he went back, after that, Chinese People Liberation Army, PLA, that's what they call it, they actually invaded parts of India and they took chunk of India. Nobody hears about it, which is still under their control. You will never hear it. You will hear the other things, but not these kind of things. That's what I was talking about earlier. Okay, moving on. In Pakistan, they had election. Guess what? Army wanted their say, because it is a known fact that Pakistan Army has its own agenda, and based on that they do a lot of things. But Imran Khan, I think his party is PTI, he supported independent because his party was banned, his trademark bat as his symbol was banned. But from behind the bars, he endorsed the candidates, and guess what? His party actually, the people endorsed by him, those independents, they have the maximum number of the winners. None of even the registered party, which was supported by the Pakistan Army or the government, the electoral parties, the political parties supported by the military of the Pakistan, none of them could achieve what the people who Imran Khan supported achieved, which itself says a lot of things about how the next generation thinks and how they work. And I'm pretty sure that one of the reasons why it happened was because even the government tried to control the media, but it was too late. And I just wonder how it will be across the border. Now coming to what is happening right here in the United States. We have our former president who still claims to be the president and who is still running to be the next president, who will challenge the sitting president, Joe Biden. He has such a grip on Republican Party that the Republican Party, which was always about pro-America, defending the interests of America overseas at any cost, they are being pushed to withdraw from everything. And Ukraine's war actually is not just a minor aberration. It is much bigger than that. The reason is, if Russia succeeds in Ukraine, then all the NATO countries are next to it. And the former President Donald Trump is already saying that he is going to pull out of NATO. And he has already invited the Russians to invade any country in NATO, which means he has already declared his intentions. And that is what really bothers me, and that also makes me wonder what Vladimir Putin has on him and other Republicans. Because one of the elected Republicans did say on record that his colleagues are compromised, which means in layman's language that on them the opposition means these people, whosoever they want to control them, they have their pictures, their conversations, and some of the stuff which is not so comfortable for them. And that's why they are that's why they are falling in line. Whenever Trump says fall in line, everybody falls in line. And guess what? A deal, the Republicans wanted a border deal which the liberal Democrats were against. Republicans got it. Everybody was ready for the deal till Trump said no. Why? Because he did not want to give a credit to Joe Biden and his team that they have a functioning government. Once you make the government non-functional, you can always claim, oh, I'm the one who will make the government work. But first you have to break it down, that it doesn't work. And that's what exactly he did when he pulled the rug under those agreements and told those elected Republicans in the Senate not to vote for him. And the current speaker, Mike Johnson, was told not which bring on the floor and which one not. And you know who is missing on the campaign trail? His wife, Melania Trump. While he's complaining about Nikki Haley's husband, who actually is in Europe on assignment because he is in US Army. Another thing which I wanted to share with you is, remember Hunter Biden issue in the House and Joe Biden's impeachment? Guess what? The whole documents which were being used for that person has been charged by FBI for lying and making wrong assertions about their investment or their conversations or everything. Well, this is something which I always admire about here in United States, that the law, it takes its time, but it definitely catches up. It really does. And this is about time that the law caught up with the former President Trump also. The reason is because I have been living in New York since 1983, and I have heard a lot of things, I read a lot of things, and I also knew that the former President Donald Trump, he will ask the contractor to do some jobs. Once the job is completed, he will not pay completely. He will not pay in full on the agreed upon and then he will complain about it, and then he will go tell the guy, go and sue me. He already had from the organization the attorney. They will actually there to at his bidding and the individual person or small entities, they do not have that kind of army of attorneys who will take up their cases and fight, and they will just, they will be okay, and they will just shut up and move on, and he will go to the next person. Examples: Trump University. He ended up paying millions of dollars to settle that. He created a charity for veterans and disabled militaries, ended up having paid back and not paying anything to anybody, but still collecting a couple of $1 million based on that. Build the Wall. Steve Bannon, Trump's man. He is charged with committing fraud on that. They collected millions of dollars, but wall was not built, or whatever was built, it is already falling apart. Trump declared bankruptcies, more than $5 billion worth of bankruptcies. And for me, a person who is a businessman and he is filing so many bankruptcies, I just wonder what kind of businessman he or she is. He claimed that he was the first one after 9/11, whereas he boasted after the World Trade Center fell, claiming, oh, I have the tallest building in Manhattan right now. And he made $150,000 on that also, without doing anything, and he claims he did something. So there is a whole list of the things which people don't know. So sometime to stop the corruption and change the course of history to bring it back on the right tracks, even if you support the person, look at the history, and then you decide, do you really want to go that side of the history? And right now, they are already talking about the Trump associates and his cahoots to declare America as a Christian country. Where would you and I fit in there then? America was not founded as a Christian country. What about the people who were here before those so-called, what they call people came on a pilgrimage? No. Okay. So we need to have all these things looked at more deeply, what's going on. Mayorkas impeachment, the first one after 150 years, and they did it. Why? Because Trump asked them to do it. Biden's impeachment process, it is not because it is based on some facts, but it is being done because the Congress has been instructed by Trump that I got impeached, Joe Biden should be impeached too. Do I have anything in writing? No, I don't. But when you start, connecting the dots, you will find out there is no other reason, because there is nothing right now which is visible what Joe Biden did wrong. Yeah, after he was vice president, everybody, after you get out, you try to think about what you want to do with your life, what you don't want to do with your life, this and that. It doesn't mean thinking that means that you already committed crime, unless you are in India where you are thinking, and because you were thinking, you are already behind the bars because you were thinking to do something. Okay. So now the question comes in, next question comes in, at the end of this year, well, hold on. The Congress is on recess, and after it comes back, it will have only 2 days to wrap up some of the funding. Otherwise, the government will shut down. I just wonder what would happen. Maybe there will be another continuing resolution, a CR, that's what they call it, till they figure out what to do. So, and I'm pretty sure Mike Johnson is good at it, and he will do something like that. Okay. And also, November elections are around the corner. For me, what I look at right now, the House will flip to Democrats. I don't see right now any other way if the House will go to Republican, will get more Republicans will get elected, or Republicans will gain more seats like they are claiming they will. I don't think so. And yes, we just had an election in New York State's Congressional District 3, where the former congressman and incoming congressman Tom Suozzi won the election by more than 8 percentage points, probably close to 9%, which is a big swing from losing a congressional seat by 8 points to win the congressional seat by 9 points. It's a 17% swing from one side to another, which is big. So that actually reduces further the Republicans' majority in the House. So I really don't know how they are going to, pass any bill. There is still nothing being done, except they want to go out and prove by impeaching Mayorkas. They can say, oh, we impeached, Homeland Security Secretary. And another interesting thing is, when infrastructure bill was passed and signed by the current president, Joe Biden, every House Republican voted against it. Even though in Senate there were Republicans who supported it, but in the House, and there were very few who probably supported it. I have to look at that number, but a vast majority opposed it. And now the projects are happening within their district, and they are boasting, oh, look what we brought to you. These are the projects which we passed in the Congress, and this is for you, for the people, without telling them that I voted against it. And the sad part is, when the election takes place, these things are left out of the conversation. The conversation should always be about, what's the agenda, what will be achieved, what could be achieved, what we have achieved, and what we want to achieve, not about what we opposed, what we opposed, what we opposed, what we opposed. Because opposition is easy and simple, but to do the things, you need to have, guts, courage, and leadership. So at the end of the show, I'm still hopeful, optimistic that at the end of the day, that, the sensible people will come out and vote what they need to do, and not just here, but in India and any other democratic country which is coming for the elections. With that note, good night and good luck.